Everybody?
It's the noisy cast.
Yeah, I don't know how loud mine is, but I can hear yours running in the background. What's up, guys? I've inspired Steve. He's got his CNC over there running, and y'all can see my little guys over here putting in some work. But it shouldn't have but about a minute left, and it'll be through. I'm still learning how to time these CNC jobs. As a matter of fact, it sounds like it's wrapping up now, so maybe my background noise will go away. How are y'all? Looks like all the usual crew mostly is here. All right. Steve just got quieter.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just needed to run a test to make sure it was still functioning. I actually need to run a better test because I do have a guy who wants me to engrave another bourbon barrel top for him. So I gotta get that dialed in.
Well, hello there, Steve. Yeah, Steve. This Steve. He picked me out of the crowd up in Gatlinburg. I wish he'd have texted me sooner, but he waited until like later that night to text me and was like, "Hey, were you in Gatlinburg?" Let me see. Let's see here. Where's Brenda's gear when he does reviews? I think he should. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the more you put your brand out there, the better. But now he's got his hat on, and he's got, I don't know what that shirt says. I can't read the shirt. What shirt you got on today?
This is our from my model airplane club, and it was our event shirt from 2020. So
Okay. Well, I mean, he does have the hat on, Brian, so we'll give him a pass on that. Any reason?
hey,
What's this? Any reason you didn't? Oh, Norbert said he found him a local boutique. Yeah,
very cool.
Norbert, I will say, if you can find some more boutiques are big on what do they call it? Monogram stuff. They call it monogrammed. I call it branding, personalizing. Monogram just doesn't sound very manly, but they do like that stuff. So, I saw I saw a question somewhere. Somewhere. Oh, what's this say? Variable text function. Well, I mean, I just picked the text size I wanted. Wait, I mean, I must be missing something. Is there a variable text function that I'm missing that I should have used?
Uh, well, let's see.
I mean, they always add stuff to Lightburn, and I'm always finding stuff I didn't know existed. So I don't know. I don't know, VT. If I knew what that was, I might could give you a good reason why I didn't. But since I don't know what that is, I really don't. I really don't know what to tell you. I picked a. I think you're saying, is there a setting where you can set it to like keep the text in a certain size criteria, and it'll vary the size? Is that maybe what he's talking about? But no, I had to stack a couple of those names because the baseballs I didn't do them with a chuck or a rotary, so I couldn't go too far. Yes, it feeds the names. Okay, yeah. I wanted them to be uniform font size as far as the height of the font. That was just the way my OCD kicked in on it. So I wasn't worried about the length of the names as much as I was the height. And so I just went with the same font and spaced it however I needed to get it in my work area. So, Norbert, that's going to be a hard one to figure out, but you'll land somewhere. I think that's everybody's biggest struggle is figuring out how to price things. Oh,
Well, it's always easier to go down in price than up, but you don't want to give them sticker shock at the same time. So you got to make sure, if nothing else, you're okay with how much you're making. It's going to vary market to market and store to store.
yep. Just got to make sure whatever you're making, you feel like it's worth your time. That's the only thing I know to tell you. Make sure that whatever you do, it is you feel like It's worth your time. Let me get my photo streams going here. About forgot. Steve hadn't got his TV behind him anymore, so
Hey,
it didn't remind
hey,
me.
but I do have some big news. I have an addition to the shop tonight. I've got some air conditioning.
What? Oh, that's not air conditioner, bro. That's an air stir, is all that is.
No, actually, I actually have a phone consult with a local HVAC tomorrow. Um, they're going to give me a call. I kind of gave them the rough specs of my shop here, you know, dimensions, makeup of the shop, and whatnot. And I'm going to talk with the tech tomorrow to kind of go over kind of some estimates of pricing, and then if I feel it's affordable, they'll come out and give me a more detailed cost on it. So it's I'm at least I'm at least looking into it.
Well, that is great news. I hope it works out for you there. We had threatened to start a GoFundMe account for an air conditioner for you. Let's see
Well,
what
I
that
haven't
hash.
gotten the quote yet, so and the ones I've gotten from other contractors for things like concrete, anything else, I'm bracing for some sticker shock. So
Yeah. Well, I know a guy that's really good at it. He would probably cut you a deal, but that ride would probably be a little bit. That would probably get your discount thrown out. So,
yeah, I know a few guys that they just aren't local to me, unfortunately. But
yep. Well, Norbert, that's one good way to get them hooked is to do projects and then donate them. I've gotten a lot of customers that way. Matter of fact, I did that just a little while ago. I got some new pins. I don't know if y'all can see them. They're right behind me, but those two big boxes right here. This box is slapped full of ink pens. So what I'm doing is I'm making some. These are just some of my demos, and I'm making them to kind of just put out there for people to see, put them on Facebook or whatnot, and hopefully I'll sell a few. So we'll see how that goes. But that's one approach. I've gotten a lot of customers that way. Yeah, Brian, I'll figure this variable text thing out. I'll see what you're talking about, and and see what you're talking about.
yeah, Norbert,
Oh, so it's like you upload a CSV or a spreadsheet and you just click next. Oh, I got to learn that one. Okay,
um,
yeah,
yeah, a big tip: don't try to compete with Hobby Lobby or Michaels on anything they do that someone can buy in store, um, and definitely not on pricing because believe me, they're not paying someone here in the U.S. to make that stuff. So, uh, yeah, you want to be looking at the personalizing, how you can make it local, how you can upscale it, and then that's where the value in the retail is. So,
yeah, yeah. The only problem that I do see with that variable text, the situation that I had, is the names were sent to me in a screenshot. So either way, I'd have had to type them. So I don't know that it would have been a big time saver on that particular job, but I will learn that for the future in case I get like an order of 100 pins with different names on them or something. I'll have them send them to me in a spreadsheet or whatever format I need. I'll be looking into that. You're the second or third person that's mentioned that to me. So, uh, Norbert, you're always going to be higher than retail. I'm higher than retail. I mean, you can go on a lot of these websites and order stuff, and people will pay you a little more to buy local and to actually get to interact with a human being instead of having to do it through the internet a lot of times. So you just have to fish it out and figure it out. Hello, Diet Do Man. I think that's the first. That's the first time I've seen that name. So welcome, if it's your first time. Uh, yeah, Chris agrees. Freebies can generate customers. Uh, Brian, seconds. Let's put it that way. It takes seconds. Uh, I haven't actually timed it, but it's only a few seconds because the speed is just insane. Matter of fact, I'll tell you, I've had to start using a material library, guys. Things have gotten out of hand with all the numbers that I have to remember. But I will tell you that the speed that I run on those cards is 10,000 millimeters a second. So do the math. It don't take but a minute. At 10,000 millimeters a second, 2 passes. It don't take long. Oh. Uh-oh. We got one. Got a problem.
Saw
Gotta get
that.
on it. Just put it together. It homes to the left, rear, no matter what I do. Would you like for me to send you a working? Well, is it extended or standard? So say I can send you a working file, but you're gonna have to change it. Unless I still have the stock one.
Does it? Yeah, I mean that shouldn't have been changed, but I was gonna say, does it do it off of the offline controller, not plugged into Lightburn?
And my question was going to be, does it move appropriately? Is it just the home that's giving you problems? That would be my question. Either way, me and Steve can tell you which switch you need to hit. Because I know what he's thinking. He's trying to decide if it's light burn or controller related. Uh, I'm trying to catch up on the comments. If you see that one, let me know.
Well, it sounds like I need to send you some measurements because you don't have
Yeah.
a sculpt one, do you?
No, I don't have one. That's why I don't make a jig for it right now.
All right. Well, you let me know what measurements you need, and I'll get them
All
to
right.
you,
We'll get
and then
together
you
on
can
that. Or
then
I
I
can
can test
send
it out for you.
or I can send you some of my files and you can throw it together. You can make one. Let's see. It does it from both. Okay, so it's gonna be in the controller itself if it's doing it from the offline controller as well as Lightburn. So it does it frame like if you put something out there, does it frame appropriately, or if you tell it to move left or right, does it move the way it's supposed to? It's only doing that during the homing process. Yeah, still waiting. While we're waiting for an answer on that, yeah, it's still. I've got the 20 watt. My D1 10 watt is not a pro model. It's the original, like back in the day, X Tool D1. My pro is the 20. But yeah, I mean, it still works great. It does exactly what it did when I got it. It hadn't had any problems. I did have my original D1 10 watt. One of the heat sinks fell off the controller because they glue them on there with that thermal paste or whatever. And I guess it just got hot and cold until it fell off. But it's still running fine. It will, if you run it too hard for too long, it will freeze up occasionally, which is probably because I haven't took time to glue that heatsink back on there. Yeah, Norbert, you can even if she doesn't want to buy the stuff from you, you do what I do with Peach Park is I have a display that I provide all of the stuff for the display at like half price for what they sell the stuff for, and I keep it stocked, kind of like the guy with the potato chips at the gas station. I go, which I don't do it right now. I let Klein do it. Klein makes the keychains and the magnets, and he keeps it stocked to get him a little bit of money for his shop, and that works out really well too because then basically if things don't sell, they're not out any money because they're just basically giving you your money back for what sells. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, he says it
Uh,
moves left to right. Okay, so is it just front to back? That axis may need to be reversed.
should we go in Lightburn?
I'm not hooked up to a laser, so you'd probably need to do that.
Let me power up the Atom stack. We'll show you so that I can actually look at the controller. Let me swap over to my Atom stack. And I'm gonna go ahead and go to screen share here. All right, so Atom
Oh,
stack. Is it sharing? Yeah, looks like it should be
yeah,
sharing.
but we need to drag you to the primary. Gotta hide the chat
Yeah,
message.
I'll let you do that.
Drag that there.
I'm trying to make sure I get the right machine here. All right, that looks right. Let's see if it homes. Nope, that's gonna be the darn mon port. Hang on. That mon port will communicate with a computer whether it's powered on or whether it ain't. I got too many things on COM ports, guys. It'll usually tell me up here what machine it is. Nope, that's not it. And I keep moving stuff around. Oh, 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 wait a minute. Oh, that's it. Okay. All right. All right. So, which axis did he say it was?
Left and right is okay. Front to back is the one that's messed up.
Which is going to be Y axis, correct? Assuming that he's got it oriented correctly. All right, you're going to need to go on your machine settings, which is let me back up. Go to edit, go to machine settings, and you're going to get this little pop up, and there's this little button right here, and when you click that, it's gonna tell you that you have to be careful. Now, I recommend before you do anything, saving your current configuration to file. But if you'll scroll down here to Y pin direction invert, that's probably what's going on with it from what it sounds like. Worst case, you can go back and flip that the other way if it doesn't fix it. But if you invert the Y pin, that will change your direction up and down right here. Just do the direction invert. See if that fixes it. And if it doesn't, we can come back in here and look at some other settings. But anyway. Woo, full screen.
So Robert was asking if we've ever been requested to do a project incorporating a logo or a trademark symbol and how we handle that. And I think someone brought it up in the chat. Brian mentioned only way I would do that is if they could provide me clear documentation that they have the authorization to use that, and that's going to be extended to myself. Otherwise, I would just tell them, sorry, I can't do it.
That would be the right answer. Yeah, a lot of the logos that I use, I do it for the business owners themselves. I don't, as far as like, I'm not going to say there aren't some things that people ask for sometimes that could or could not be, copyrighted. But yeah, the correct answer is you can't do it without them having access to that logo. But let us know if it works out there, Gillian, if that works. Yeah, he got a little upset when he was sanding, and I snuck over to my box and grabbed my big like 2.5 inch Clack Shack logo stamp and leaned inside the box and smacked it one good time. He just kind of looked at me, but I mean it was built in the Clack Shack, so I mean, and I did my share of the work on that thing. There you go, Steve. There's your technical question. What? We clicked on different ones.
I didn't,
There you
go. So the minimum height, as far as from the when dealing with the camera, is really where the camera is going to be when you're using it to your work area. So if your camera rides on your lid and moves around, it needs to be closed, and wherever it's going to set over the board, that's where they're talking about minimum height. It's great when you can have that stationary, because any movement, even on a hinge, it's going to introduce a little bit of play here and there. So if you can get it stationary and not moving, that's really your ideal setup. Some people actually have them outside the enclosure if it's shallow, and then it shines down in there while it's open, and then they close the lid. But it's really going to
Yeah.
be from where the camera's at its position, ready to do its work.
Yeah, and another thing too, your minimum height is going to depend on the type of lens on the camera, whether it's a flat lens or a fisheye. I run fisheye lenses primarily now because I have found that they work pretty much in any configuration, whereas a flat lens requires like 20 to 24 inches to get the entire work area, typically. But these fisheyes, they they're pretty awesome. I like my fisheye cameras. Tim Prince, there we go.
On this one, you can actually there's really not a limit to the number of devices you can hook up to Lightburn. And as a matter of fact, if you want to run two at one time, you just need to open another instance of Lightburn and then make sure it's addressing the right COM port, so you can actually run two machines. Now, as far as computers you can install the software on, by default, it comes with two licenses that you can have it activated on. And then if you email them and ask nicely, they generally will give you a third as well. So you can install it on three devices, and then each machine, each computer can run basically as many as your computing, your processor and your memory is going to handle instances of Lightning.
I can verify that you can run a CO2, a fiber, and two diodes, and a CNC, which that ain't got nothing to do with it with Lightburn. But you can run two diodes, a CO2, and a fiber all at the same time in Lightburn if you have enough computer. So I did that today.
And if you can keep track of them all, what they're doing.
Hey,
Hopefully they're longer jobs.
Yeah, the bad thing about it is you got to be careful if you go to hit the stop on one of them and make sure that you're on the right one. So it's not that bad as long as I'm doing different jobs, because I take a picture with my camera so that I can see what's in there. But if you're doing, like, if I'm doing cutting boards on two different machines, I actually have stopped the wrong machine before on the wrong cutting board. So the AC one, I think it's a flat, but it's got a wide view. I don't think it's a. Do you know for sure what lens is in that?
I mean, if you look at it raw, I think it's got a bit of a fisheye look to it, but it's not as extreme as, say, the ones you're using. So
Yeah. No, the ones I'm using are pretty extreme if you don't filter them. Matter of fact, hang on, I'll pull one of them up right quick. This is the one in Enclosure Zilla right there. So that's the view of the camera that's inside Enclosure Zilla. Now, when I put it in Lightburn and run the tools on it, it makes it look flat. It does the lens correction for you. So, and then let's see, I got another one on here too. I'm gonna have to scroll through. Oh, wrong camera. Yep, I got too many cameras in here, guys. Okay, that one's busy. Yeah. So that is actually the Atom Stack AC1 right there. That's the camera that we're looking at. So it's a pretty wide angle.
yeah,
That's my little.
that's what. Yeah, so it's wide angle, but it's not looking very fisheye.
Yeah, that's my over the table camera here. Oh, crap. For those of you that don't know, I'm having a issue with a vertebrae, and that son of a gun just caught. Oh my goodness. Ooh. Oh. Oh. Fire shot down my leg. That ain't good. Went for an MRI Friday. I'm hoping they'll tell me what's wrong with that one and get it fixed. That hurt. Yeah, the only one I've got is I've got it locked in because I did start Lightburn up a while ago. But my other one is currently engaged. I can't close Lightburn for a minute though. But yeah, but I'm running, like I said, I'm running fish eyes pretty much That's all I buy anymore. I think they're 156 degree fish eyes. They're not the 180s, of course.
So Jeff's asking about the 40 watt from X Tool, and I don't believe either of us have had any chance to work with it. But
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on it in general from what you've read?
No, there's the other one. I got it freed up. My only problem with the setup is both of my D1 Pro is a 20 watt and it runs and it works. So in order to use the 40 watt module, I'd have to sacrifice my 20 watt, and I just can't make myself do that. If it was a 10 watt, I probably would, but not with it being a 20. So that's my hang up with it right now. Now, if I had a 5 watt Pro laying around, then that wouldn't be a bad idea. But I've never got to play with one, so I can't say for sure. Yeah. When you set these cameras up, now I don't ever when I set these cameras up, I don't do the presets. I put it on. I go ahead and do the full configuration using the tools. I do not use the presets. I've had zero luck finding a preset that works like I want it to. So. Uh, goggles on. Oh, Norbert says he's trying to make money over there. But yeah, it's I would normally be working right now, but y'all would hate the noise. Oh, and it's a trick question. Why is everybody always trying to nail me down on a specific machine? Uh, I'm gonna go ahead with the traditional IT answer on this one. It depends. It depends on what I am doing, to be honest with you. I have found that X Tool or Tour, Two Trees, Aether, Congro, Niji, all of these different machines, they have strengths and they have weaknesses. One of the problems, the only really big grumble I have with X Tool is that the way they've got their cable management, if you're not careful, that cable will drag your material out of the workplace, out of the workspace. I really wish they would fix that. That's my only big complaint with the X Tool. Uh, you know, Atom Stack doesn't have that problem. Acer doesn't have that problem. So each machine has its own problems. Me and Klein were discussing the other night with the Ortour, the LM3. If they had not have hung the stepper motor so far into the workspace of that machine, it would be a lot better because you have to be careful with that stepper or it will, as it goes back and forth, it will grab the corner of your material and slide it. So all of these machines, if I could take all these different machines and pick little factors and put them together, I could make a really really good laser. But it's like nobody will do that. It's like nobody will take. They always find one little thing to put in there that I don't like. Uh, Case in point, the two trees, the was it TS20 or whatever. Love that thing. It's an awesome machine. Can't take the cover off of it. It's got that metal shroud over the end of it that you can't take off of there. It's got autofocus, but that little pin, if you're not careful, will grab material and slide it around the workspace. The U8s Steve's going to figure that one out. It's a great machine, but you can't give yourself any more clearance on the head because of the way that it has that limit switch down there. So they all have their weaknesses and strong points. To be honest, my P20 is still like it has fewer weak points than other machines. Now it doesn't have a Power Z, which is nice. Uh, but if you're not needing to step down your Z as you're cutting, it's really not a concern. But I'm not really sold to any one machine. To be honest with you, I've even considered taking several of these machines and putting them together and creating my own variant because I could, maybe eliminate some of the problems that I have with them. So, what do you think about that, Steve?
Um, yeah, I still have my 10 watt original non-pro, and I've got my 20 watt pro, and they are nice machines. Actually, if I'm kind of traveling, it's one of the ones I opt more towards because it's a little more compact. But the latest series of lasers coming out, I really enjoy having that automatic air on. Even though I run it almost all the time, even with engravings, it's one less knob to turn or forget and worry about. Um, and some of them, like the longer 3D one I did the review on, that's got a pretty big working area, like four. It's about the largest one I've seen, like with almost 450 millimeter in one direction. And so, the X tool, you're still restricted down just a hair under 400 when it's actually working. Um, the nice thing about X tool, they have their own software that's better than Laser GRBL. You don't have to pay for it like Lightburn. So, for someone just getting started, it's a little bit better and integrated. But I think it'll be interesting. I think X Tools due for their next version of diode lasers to kind of compete with the IKEA and the 8 L2, even some of the Niji and others that are coming out with some of these more automated features in them. So, um, that being said, I still have it. I still use it. So,
Wait a minute. I'm not sure if that's the. Before you do that, I'm not sure if that is the L2 or the P20. So give me just a second. I just realized that. Let me upload these new ones. What I'm going to do, James, is I'm going to give you a link to the settings for my machine. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have to redo the work area. If you don't redo the work area, mine's 850, so that's gonna create you an issue. Working profile right there. Let me see that. Make sure. Wait a minute. Where have you got your origin set to in Lightburn? I just thought about that. I think. Let me send in both files. Keep it going while I get this done.
so, um, yeah, ET is mentioning that they want to buy their modules instead of uh, repair modules. I assume we're talking about X Tool here, um, and that yeah, I think you're going to find that with a lot of them. They're going to want to send you major components rather than small parts. Um, that's kind of when you get into the aftermarket territory where you can start hacking the machines, and that's one kind of negative on X Tools. They lock their stuff down more that uh, you can't go in and necessarily make changes to the configuration very easily, which is good from a user not breaking their laser standpoint, but for someone who wants to tinker and play, it does kind of lock you out a bit. So, and yeah, they're going to want to make their money on upgrades and such. And I can't fault them to that necessarily right off the bat, but after a while, if you see it being too excessive, then you got to start wondering. But
There you go. There's the two files that should. Both of those files. Those are my working copies of my files. So if make sure you back yours up or whatever. But there's one's going to be the Lightburn. I can't remember which ones. Is it the LBDV? That's the Lightburn file, is it not? Yeah. And then the LB set is the. I think that's the machine. Can't remember. But anyway, there's my two files if you want to try those, guys. And see if it'll help you. But now keep in mind, you're going to have to resize the work area from where mine's 850 back down to 430 by 430. But those are the correct settings.
so Gary, I'm assuming you're running into the issue. You're running out of USB ports to plug in the extra accessories. Um, some of these devices are really sensitive to making sure they have the appropriate power throughput on the ports. So If you need to expand that, you probably want to look into a powered USB hub, um, and not just a standard, one that you plug into the laptop that then shares the power off that port. That can definitely help, especially on things like cameras or other the lasers that are going to be transferring a lot of data. Having that extra power on there to distribute to the various ports is going to be helpful. And it can help if you're trying to extend, you're trying to run a USB connection a little bit longer. Having a powered hub can help get you more consistent connectivity with a little extra length on your cables. But hopefully that answers what you're looking for.
Yes, I can vouch for non-powered USB uh, hubs are problematic with most of your lower end computers. So I had that problem as well. Da, da, da. Best cut on 6 millimeter. Best cut on 6 millimeter was 10 millimeters. That's not bad for 6 millimeter material. I don't think.
Unless it's, yeah, well, yeah. I'm assuming that's 10 millimeters a second for cutting
Yeah,
6 millimeter material. That's for a 20 watt.
yeah. Cheat
Unless we're
your.
reading that wrong.
Yeah, I think say unless it's 10 millimeters a minute, then that's that's not good. On let's see, what we got here. I never heard of that. Never heard of it.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think I've heard of them. And you're talking about the CNC machine there, Mark, I believe. If I remember correctly, they have at least US based support on them. I don't remember where they're distributed out of, but I don't have any experience with them. But I've have heard of them before, and I've heard some people appreciate that their support is based here in the U.S. So,
Yeah, apparently they make 3D printing, CNC, and lasers.
oh, okay,
But I don't know. But I'm trying to find that particular model. But the Yora Home. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I guess
that's gonna
okay.
be a
They do have lasers and stuff. I thought they were.
yeah. That's 6550 Pro is actually a laser. Looks a lot
Oh,
like a Niji.
there you go. It's similar. It's got that wide stance.
Yeah. Never never used one. So nothing good or bad I can say about it. It does look a lot like the Niji. The air pump looks a lot like the Wally or the Otor air pump. So, but it's kind of got an atom stack looking legs on it. So, it's, I wouldn't mind trying it out. It doesn't say what the output. I'm trying to find the output here. Oh, it's got an expansion where you can expand it to 65 by 100 centimeters, which is 26 by 40. That's pretty big. It's a 10 watt though, unless they sell an upgrade. All right. Will the P28 extended work for the V25 extended? That is a good question. Oh, wait a minute. I missed my. They move so fast.
Yeah, there's a lot coming in here.
Do you know, Steve? The controllers are the same, aren't they? Or are they?
Uh, 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 I'm not 100% sure on that. I mean, they may have the same the config might be the same, but the controllers might be slightly different to handle the extra power. So, I mean, you could try it, save a backup of your current one,
Yeah, yeah,
and no warranty given if the magic smoke is given up.
yeah.
But
I think my mouse just died. My mouse did just die.
oh.
Well, that's unfortunate.
So Mark's asking, with all the diodes I have, do I still use my CO2? And when would I decide to use it over a diode? So I've been using my diodes almost exclusively for the past few months, primarily because they're convenient for one thing, and they're not out here in the shop that I don't necessarily have climate controlled very well. I mean, it's not the extremes that it's still insulated and such, but it has swings. But the big thing being is that I haven't had a project recently that didn't fit into the diode, and that's where I might opt for my CO2. The benefit of the diodes is that even as they're getting up at higher power, these 30 and 40 watt diodes, their spot size, their curve is still a finer point than my CO2. So I'm finding less and less reasons to use it unless I need to really cut out a lot of the same parts and can use a bigger piece of material. So yeah, it's the convenience factor of the diodes for me have made me use them a lot. Now I have been entertaining, tuning this one back up and playing around with it more, both for some content, because I do get people asking questions about things related to CO2s that can't be explained on a diode. But we'll see. There's still the difference in wavelength. You get into, your acrylics, and the CNC is just better at it. It's faster. It gets a cleaner cut on the side, and it can deal with the clear and the translucent stuff. So, that's one of the big advantages to it. But yeah, I've been hard pressed to find a reason where I really need to go fire up the CO2 recently. So,
Well, actually, I just used mine like the past 3 or 4 days. I've used it several times. I needed some little adjustable hold downs for the fiber, and I had some leftover translucent acrylic, and it looks really good on the black machine. So I cut me out a bunch of these on the Monport, and I think last weekend, I had a lady come down and was working on her machine, and she had a K40, and I was showing her mine, and we did a couple of little burns with it just to show her how one's supposed to work, because hers wasn't working. So I can honestly say usually it's usually for acrylic, but I do fire up the CNC or the Monport every couple of weeks, seems like. Now, Christmas time, I'll be turning out some stuff with the Monport, because Christmas time acrylic is big for ornaments and stuff.
yep.
Um,
Yep. And as you know, I actually was playing with my Monport a little bit today because I was bugging you for some of your
yeah,
information.
needing some configs.
Just comparing notes on what I'm seeing. Just haven't run the thing in a while. Just trying to get it retuned. So you'll probably see some content on my channel related to the K40 light burn from Monport in the near future, and we'll see. Probably diving back into some other CO2 content as well as CNC stuff. I was prepping my Onefinity, do some tests. Got some work I need to do on that. So gonna branch it out a little bit, but also push more project related material.
Yeah. Tammy's wanting to know what's best to treat 3mm birch plywood before painting. Tammy, they do make a spray, like I guess would you call it a primer? It's not really a primer, but it's like a prep spray if you're having problems with that. But I use acrylic paints, and I don't do anything to them if I'm painting. I try to avoid painting. I don't like painting. I got like carpal tunnel issues. Little paintbrushes make my hands hurt. My
Yeah, I
joints
guess
are
it
all messed up.
depends on what you need. If you're trying to make them more solid and not have like the grain and such pop through, then I would use any sort of, I mean, just like a spray on poly is going to fill that in and not soak into the various grains as much. So probably just a matte finish type thing like that, something you can lightly sand afterwards and go. But otherwise, yeah, you can lean into it. The other thing, if you're really struggling with that, and you don't want the extra work. If you can get a good source for, there's a craft plywood like light ply and or basswood is going to be a little more clear of grain, and then it might not show through so much, and you could maybe skip that step altogether. So
There's a big conversation about me needing bigger hands if I get a rat. Okay, so
hey, if your mouse comes with one of these things, it can't die unless your whole laptop dies.
yeah, but this one's nice when I'm testing machines because I can actually use that screen over there and take the mouse with me. Which I've actually got a Logitech keyboard over there too that I can use.
Yeah, I've got one of those. I've got a couple of them. They're just the keyboard touchpad combos. They're wireless from Logitech. They're really small and easy to port around. So I've used those on various machines.
You
Where,
mean you mean like that?
well, mine isn't black per se, but yeah,
Well,
it's probably similar to
this
that.
was actually gray and yellow.
Oh, okay. But yeah, those are nice. When you got a bigger machine or you need to move the keyboard around, and still do some things.
Yeah, that's the one I used to operate the CNC because I did find that trying to get that thing right in the corner is hard when you have to walk over here, hit a button, go back. Walk over here, hit a button, and go back. So I put the wireless keyboard over there so I can just arrow it.
I mean, I showed you my cool setup.
Yeah, I could do that if I had a controller and a mapper. I could make that work. But then you'd make fun of me for having so many gadgets.
Drive my CNC around.
Hey, you can drive a submarine with that too.
Hey now.
Yeah, I tried doing some silicone watch bands with the fiber. That doesn't work real well. It there's a very thin margin between not marking and fireball. So I was actually going to fire up because I've got a pack of watch bands. I'm wanting to do them, so I think I'm going to wind up making me a jig for my Monport and doing them in it. So. Does your fire what? You talking to me? No, that would have to be a cutting machine, not an engraving machine, to be needing all that. I would imagine. Way more powerful than what we've got.
Yeah, we just have the com marker B4 20 watt, kind of your step above the IR modules that you put on the diodes in the F1 machine. So
Yep. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, Chris. The CO2 does a really good job now that I have figured out how to set the focus and got the settings dialed in. It works really well for clear. Uh, Figured out how to keep it from getting sticky on the backside and all that good stuff. Yeah, Brian, I got a big thing on the wall over there, slap full of AA batteries. So I just put some new batteries in it. I had noticed it had a little red light up here earlier, and I thought that just meant that it was good to go. But apparently that meant it was dying. Uh, Hello from Bruce there from South Carolina. There's old Alabama barbecue bullets and big rigs. Kind of like the show and tell. Yeah, we got some technology. Steve's got his controller over there. He was showing off how he can like basically move his CNC around with a controller before the live started because we were both running CNCs at the time. Well, I'm fortunate, Chris, because my computer that I'm using right now has about 20 USB ports on it altogether, I think. And I've got one, two, three. I've got three hubs. So I got a bunch of them. I got USBs everywhere. CO2 and crosshatch is the way to go. Yeah, I think it's going to be if you're talking about for the silicone fiber. Like I said, fiber will remove the material, but there's a thin threshold between not doing anything and it just burn a hole through it. So, but now I did buy the cheapest bands you could buy just to play with.
So Tom says that his that was millimeters a minute. So if he's only moving at 10, that is crazy slow.
Uh, might want
I
to check and
guess.
make sure the S values, right?
Well, and I guess I would also ask, maybe compare. He says that the LaserMaster 3 is cutting much better on 3 millimeter plywood. I would compare apples to apples first, the 3 millimeter plywood, and then check what kind of plywood that 6 millimeter is. There's some stuff out there that's pretty nasty, so and difficult to cut, but you should be able to get through that a lot faster. Um, I would say if you're millimeters per minute, quarter-inch material on a 20 watt, you're going to be in the 300 to 400 millimeters a minute range easily, assuming you got air assist and such. So,
Yeah, 5 to 7 if you're doing millimeters a second, depending on the machine and how clean it is. Which I'm glad I'm using millimeters per second because moving over into the fiber world, that's a big number if you start trying to use millimeters per minute.
yeah,
Popping and slippage in the X tool. Check and make sure your timing linkage, the little bar that runs from side to side, check and make sure that you haven't slipped a belt and got your timing off. The popping typically is going to be the belt jumping teeth, and most situations the timing linkage is going to be the culprit causing that. So there's a rod that runs all the way through from one side to the other, and it has two little grub screws on a connector. My guess is probably that linkage has gotten loose, and it's not keeping them synced up like it's supposed to. What do you think, Steve? Would you agree or disagree?
yeah. I would start looking at the mechanics first, like you mentioned, that timing linkage. Double check your belt tension, make sure that it can be too loose or too tight and cause problems. So you want it snug. You should be able to feel some tension pinching them together, but not so much that you can play a Stairway to Heaven like a guitar on it. So, uh, check to make sure that any of the pulleys, that the set screws haven't come loose on those. That's a big culprit there, as well as the coupler on that timing linkage. I think has two set screws as well. So I'd start there. Um, but
That's another one of those. It depends.
yeah, you can get by with some of the smaller 4-inch fans that are pulling 200-ish CFM if it's like a straight short run straight up to like you've got 2 feet, no bends, it's going right out there. Beyond that, I would really recommend stepping up to, like a 6-inch fan, even if you got to choke it down. It's going to have a little more airflow moving through. And you can get those. Did you do that review? Was that the one? Was that a 6-inch fan that you put in
Four.
your enclosure?
It's a four hog and guan or something like that. Yeah, I'm still running it right now. It still works. Uh, it doesn't. Let's just say that it doesn't like instantly remove all the smoke as soon as the burn's over with. But if I wait about 5 seconds, then open the enclosure, it's completely vacated. But now you got to think of with this enclosure how many cubic feet of air it's having to move to get all the smoke out of there. Because this is a 48 by 32-inch enclosure we're talking about.
Yeah. So mine is a AC Infinity 6-inch inline fan. and I have that. So I've got it in my basement, and it's got there's a couple bends in there, but that does a pretty good job as long as I've got the airflow moving through the enclosure. So you want to, as you're building your enclosure, make sure you leave enough air inlet into it to allow that exhaust to work well. So
Yep. Kevin, I think I tried to tag you in a little post there. Uh, Check the belt tension on that. Also, make sure all your little rollers are clean. There's no trash or debris in those little between those stainless steel rods and those rollers. And make sure those rollers make sure they're really clean. And put a little bit of that what do they call it, ping ying or whatever that they send you in the tube, the lubricant. Put you some of that on there.
yeah,
Put you some of that on there to make sure. Because you can, and I don't know if you know this, but they're there's rails under the bottom too, and if those things get dirty, if you get a little bit of debris in there, it'll keep those wheels. It'll keep those wheels. There's such tight tolerances, it can start trying to make that wheel hang up. So wipe that down real good, clean it, and then put a little bit of lubrication on there. See if that helps. But it definitely could be the belt. If you want it snug but not really tight, uh, if you can easily pull that belt to where they're touching together with like little to no force, they're too loose. And if they won't hardly touch together, then they're probably too tight. It's hard to explain, guys. I need to get like a gauge to where we can.
yeah. I mean, the other thing that also works is kind of the 45-degree tilt. So
Yeah,
if you lift your laser up on one end to about 45 degrees, you want the gantry to just kind of smoothly. You don't want it to race down and slam. You just want it to kind of smoothly move down to the other side, and then that's pretty well set. So that's another thing you
yeah,
can kind of do. And I think for the X tool, and Brian just mentioned it, there is a 3D printed tension gauge out there, and I printed one last year when I first got mine, but I haven't messed with it recently. So
yeah. Well, Brian, I don't know where I'd put a 3D printer. I'm running out of room. You see, my old enclosure is back over there. You see it hiding on the other side of the room, like right there. That's my original Comgrow Z1 O-Tour enclosure. Klein brought it back, and we built him a new one. And so I've got an enclosure that I can't do anything with that thing right now. I thought about trying to set it up for the fiber, but I don't really need it for the fiber. So I don't know. I may donate it to somebody. I've got to take some stuff out to the trade school for the kids to use. I don't know. Might do that. Who knows?
I recently found out there's well, we used to be members when our kids were younger. There's a children's museum, and it's actually just a few blocks away from my place. And when we went there, they just kind of had some typical exhibits, things to play with, some hands-on stuff. But they've created a 3D printing lab in their space now, and so I might reach out to them and ask if they wanted to get into, diode engraving. I might be able to set them up as well. So, but diode laser engraving is a little more dangerous than 3D printing when dealing with young kids. So I'd have to talk with them about that. But
Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna try to show some MDF, but I had some I cut over here. It's the Home Depot MDF. But yeah, I've cut some. MDF is a little more durable when it comes to cutting, or can be. It does really good for photos, and it does really good for engraving. But MDF is a little, from my experience, it's a little more difficult to cut than regular plywood.
it's it's also two things I don't like about it, because I used to do a lot of MDF with my CO2 when I first got it because it was easy to source. I could get 4x8 sheets at Menards that cut really well, but it smells worse than regular wood because of all the extra resins, and then that also leaves more a stickier, more debris and mess on your honeycomb and such that just seems stickier and harder to clean than the typical stuff. So
Yeah. No, Chris, I don't think it would. It was built specifically. At the time I built it, it was built basically for that Ortour and the Comgro Z1. It's only, I think that one's only like 26 by 26. I might could put the CNC in it, but to be honest, I have found it as long as I leave the dust shoe on that guy, I've got a vacuum cleaner hooked to it too. But so far it hadn't really made a mess. The CNC hasn't. But I leave that dust shoe on there whether I've got vacuum running or not. If I ever get around to running me another dust extraction, I'm gonna run one for the CNC, but we'll see. I don't know that that's going to be the only CNC I end up with. I may wind up with a bigger one somewhere. I don't know. We'll see. I got to learn how to work this one first. This is kind of kicking my butt. It's really It's taking me longer to learn it than it has the fiber. It's a little more complex. A lot more variables with all the different bits and cuts and layers, and it's taking me a little while. I've come up with a couple of decent looking projects, but I find myself trying to do like full size CNC projects on a compact CNC, and it's like you start it, and it's like 12 hours and 66 minutes remaining. It's like what?
yeah, and that's that's the thing. I don't know, I haven't shown this in a while. Let me pan over to it. So my CNC, back up, is the Onefinity woodworker. So I mean, I can almost stretch my arms out across these rails. Goes back 30 inches. It's a pretty big work area.
Well, now you are kind of short, and you have short arms.
Yeah. I have about a 3-foot wingspan right now. Now this has just over 48 inches of travel. So I mean, I could put a full sheet of plywood on here. I can't cut the full depth of it, but it would fit side to side and such. I rarely use that much space on here, but when you do have that project, it's really nice to have that working area. So that's where I ended up with that one. In the long term.
Yeah. Now, Michael, I'll come up with something to do with it. Like I said, if I had more room, I would keep it and set it up somewhere for nothing else, just to test some of the smaller machines. But right now, it's just sitting over there until I can figure out what I'm going to do. Can a D1 Pro 10 watt cut 5mm birch plywood? Yes, it can, but be prepared for 4 to 5 passes. From my experience, what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it can, like you say, it's going to take some extra passes, and might be a little bit messier with you're going to get more of that vapor stuff landing on the top before it cuts through. But you can. But if you're going to do it a lot and you're looking to make money on it versus just having fun and a hobby, might be a reason to look into a 20 watt module.
Yep. Yeah, the 20s, right now, the 20s kind of the sweet spot as far as economical and practical. You know what I mean? I think the 20 is, if I could only have one laser, it would be a 20, because you get like several different features as far as you can cut faster. You still got clarity to engrave and do decent, engraving work, and some other stuff. Somebody send me a message.
I think that's where you see the biggest jump in performance: 10 to 20 versus 20 to 30. You got to remember that they're also spreading out that power over a larger focus area, so it's not you're not going to cut twice as fast with a 30 as you can a 20. So you kind of have a little bit of diminishing returns as you go up in power there. But I would agree, 20 is a sweet spot. You can usually get one fairly inexpensively. And it does, I think, make a bigger difference going from the 10 to the 20 than beyond that. So
now the pros do have the step down in the focus. So there's a chance that if you bring the focus down with the Pro, that you can do it in less than 4 passes. And is this the same one that was trying to cut that, or is this a different one?
Uh, I was just looking back. So he's got a 10-1, a D1 Pro 10 watt, takes 20 passes, 100% power, 10 speed. You got 3 millimeter basswood sheets, and it takes 30 minutes to complete just a 100 millimeter circle. So, yeah, it sounds like something's up. You can, on any laser, you can do what's called a ramp test to check your focus. And what you do is you set your material in your bed, but you elevate one side, and then you draw a line, and you have your laser just burn that line, so it kind of goes up the ramp. And as it goes up the ramp, it's hopefully going to come from out of focus into focus and back out of focus. So you're going to move your laser back over to where that in focus spot was and take your measurements from there to double check, is your focusing tool matching that distance. Um, there's not a lot you can change on these diodes. Most of them are a fixed focus, and so they'll need to be set, but some of them can be slightly out, or there can be something seriously wrong. And that would be one thing to help check to see if it's at least close, or if it's way out. As far as that, I would also really take a good look at um, you should have a cover lens on there. Make sure that that's not loose or cracked or dirty. I've seen some come loose from factory. If they had anything on them and they got hit, they might have been cracked, and that's going to greatly reduce your power. So if you've got the air assist cone on there, take that off. Take a look at that cover lens and see if that looks okay or not.
Yeah, and if it's a brand new machine, it might not hurt to uninstall it and go back through the entire configuration. But she says using Xtool software though. Never mind.
Yeah, he's using the XTS, and
Mm.
there's not a lot you can screw up with that as far
Yeah, I
as
mean
the
that should be
settings.
correct then. Yeah, but I checked the lens because that is definitely not. That's not normal behavior for any even a 10 watt. Yeah, I got a. I think I got a. Somebody sent me a message a while ago. So if that was you that sent me that, Jeff. Ha ha ha, Brian. Yes, right. Brought back the soundboard for you, Brian. That's your button. I
Well,
got that. That button is named Brian.
yeah, and you've got that nice Sane Smart. What's the 4040 Pro?
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of like a miniature 150. And as far as someone looking to get into CNCs, now I haven't used that one personally, but from what I've seen from other people and David playing around with it, if someone was wanting to get into it, you can get some smaller ones that are cheaper, but I would kind of maybe have them shy away from that a little bit and look at kind of that grade. That Sane Smart 4040 Pro is kind of about the smallest, but it's also got a good rigidity. It's got some upgrade options and such that um, you won't be fighting a kind of a weak machine that's too small for you. But I will warn you that you will probably outgrow it fairly quickly. But right now, I think it's going for like $599, and that's a pretty good deal to kind of get your feet wet in CNC routers. A lot of times, you're looking at $1,200-$1,500 on up to get going on them. So
Yeah, well, like I said, this one right here, it's the work area is like 436 by 400, I think it is. So it's not huge, but the way I look at it, all of the principles are the same for this machine as they are for the one that Steve's got. So if I can learn how to make stuff on this little guy, and I get proficient at it, I enjoy it, and it doesn't make me pull the rest of my hair out, then I can go spend the money and confidently buy a machine knowing that it's not going to be on marketplace next month, trying to get rid of it. So I do like that about it. I'm running the factory module currently, which is I think it's like what, a 60 watt. It's not much. But I have the adapter, the same smart. They sent me the adapter that goes on there for the DeWalt router, and I just ordered the DeWalt router the other day. I don't know when it's going to be here, but I've got it coming. But I did want to learn this thing before before I put the more powerful router on there that could actually hurt me because if I put too much power on there, that thing could sling a piece of wood across the shop on me. So I want to kind of learn it while it's got the low powered rotor on there. Actually, I don't guess I did hit order. I haven't ordered it yet. It's still in my save for later file. But
Now, did they sent you the right adapter for the DeWalt?
was it 69 millimeters? I think it is.
Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
the DeWalt 69, the
There was a
Makita, and the
60. There was a
Bauer.
60. There was a 65 and a 69, and I told him to send me the 69.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's one of the annoying things is that slight difference between Makita and DeWalt and a few others is that slight diameter change, and you can't always make that up if
Well,
it's too big. So,
I was going to say everything I read said that if you're going to get one, get the bigger one rather than get the smaller one because you could actually make a shim for this. But
well, the
I wouldn't want to
you,
do that.
yeah, I wouldn't do that either. And then, I mean, the other thing is, you can get actual like water cooled or air cooled spindles that run off a
There
VFD,
you
and
go.
those tend to be 65 and then 80 millimeters. So,
69.2, 69.1. So there we go. This was 69. I confirmed it. I told him to send me the 69,
okay,
but
so you're good.
but it's measuring 69.1, but it's actually loose right now. The screws are just barely in there. Matter of fact, when I got it, one of the screws that actually fell out of it. So I've got that guy, and I've got the dust boot for it. My gosh, that thing's big. I ordered the dust boot. But yeah, like I said, Steve makes fun of it and says it's cute because it's little. But I'm learning, guys. You gotta learn somewhere.
It is cute.
Yep. But yeah, I've got that, and like I said, I wanted to go with the DeWalt. I know the Makita's a little bit cheaper, but it didn't have variable power, and some of the videos I watched, folks said that if given the choice, variable power was a good option to have for it. So
What do you mean it doesn't have variable power?
there was a Makita, or was it a Makita or a Bosch or one of them that didn't have variable power?
The Makita has variable. It's got a dial on it, and
Oh,
so you
does it?
can do the variable speed on it.
Okay.
The one thing I've cautioned people against also, if DeWalt knows that you're using this on a CNC, they will void your warranty, whereas Makita will still honor it. So,
Yeah, if I tear it up, I'll deal with that. But the one thing that I do want to do though, because I have found that instead of having to turn the DeWalt on and off, I am going to get me a DC to AC relay and build it into my table so that I can still turn the router off and on using the software. And I've been looking at that, and so I'm going to order me a DC to AC relay and wire that thing up. Put a switch from my router.
well, I've got a full setup for a water cooled spindle for mine, and I've got the relay or I've got the VFD, I've got the adapter board so that I can actually control the speed through the CAM software, and then I'll have a relay that'll turn the dust collection on when the VFD spins up the spindle. So I shouldn't have to touch any power connectors on there. But I gotta finish all that. And the lasers have been taking my time this past year. So
Yeah, see, this is my second project I made. This was pretty cool. This was actually some wood. My wife sent it out here to be burned, and it was an old like piece of shelf or bookshelf or something, and she told me to burn it. And so instead of burning it, I chopped it up into little 12 by 12 squares, made some practice materials out of it. Because it's not quite MDF, but it's kind of, I guess it would be, maybe it's like, I don't know, low density fiberboard because it's more like particle board, but it actually engraves. It's been a pretty good practice medium. If I tear it up, it's not costing me any money because it was going to the burn pile anyway. So, do 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 do. Well, the only problem, Brian, with this, I don't want it to. This thing uses like a laptop power cable, so I don't know if it would. I don't. It's not the same as like the ones for skill saws and stuff like that. So, everything I've read with the Sane Smarts, everybody's advising doing the DC to AC relay, because you can just pull the wires that feed the motor, and then put the relay on the back of the machine and do it from there. So that's probably the approach that I'm going to go, because I found a couple of cool YouTube videos on how to do it. That way I won't mess anything up.
YouTube videos.
Yep,
Who watches those?
I do. That's where I learned how to do a lot of things, man. Fox Alien. That was another one I had looked at. Uh, I'm not against it. Like I said, it just depends. I can't afford to buy all these machines and review them. So, but I do know too that SaneSmart actually makes a laser module for this one that goes with the factory. It goes into the factory little spindle holder. So what I have thought about doing is ordering their laser module, and that way I could take the wall off and then put the laser on, because I'm going to be, cannibalizing that little module that's on there now. Make sure you got the software set up right. Oh, God.
Yeah. So honestly, I would start with some material tests on it. That'll help you kind of see what it's going to do. I've got a nice video on that within Lightburn. I don't remember. I think you can download some for XCS if that's what you're using, but that will definitely help you both for engraving and cutting to see some settings. A lot of people will start by engraving first. So, if you've got just some scrap whatever, just make sure it's not, dangerous plastic or whatnot, but grab whatever you've got, maybe even some cardboard, and do some playing around with your power and speed. Just know how to turn the machine off, and have at least a little spray bottle of water handy, just in case whatever you've got on there creates a little bit of a flame. So,
yeah. Chip, from what I've been told, DeWalt sells two different trim routers. They have one that has variable power and one that does not. Isn't that correct, Steve?
Yep.
Was it the DP 661? I think it is. DWP 661, I think, is the one that has variable power. I think that's the number.
Tell you in a second, because I've gone through a few on past CNC routers. It's the DWP 611. That's variable speed, 1.25 horsepower router.
Yeah, that's the one I've got in my cart. My dyslexia kicked in. I called it 661. I think. But but yeah, it's I think they sell one without it, but I know that particular one has a it's kind of like my sander. My sander has that same little setup as far as the switch and the speed controller and everything on it. I had to start using the cut library on my machines. I've gotten to where I can't keep up anymore with all my settings, and so I've been doing that this week, and that's pretty neat. It's pretty neat, for sure. Somebody was asking about painter's tape with P20. There you go. I use the green painter's tape. It burns a little different. I don't remember what my settings were to keep from burning the tumbler though.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look, because the last one I tested was the Atom Stack, and that was with the 30. But
just take some tape and put it on a piece of wood and find a setting that will mark the tape but not burn the wood. Because if it's going to burn a tumbler, it'll burn wood for sure. So that would be the safest bet would be to do your own power settings to determine that. Because I'd hate to tell you something and you cut through the tape and tear up a tumbler.
Now, if you want, I don't know if I have any out here, but
Ooh,
if you need some inexpensive fodder for testing that, I picked up some stainless steel tumblers at Harbor Freight for like $6 at one point, and so that's what I use. I have a few of those. I put some tape over them, and if I go through it, then it's not a big deal. It's only a $6 tumbler. So I don't know if they still have them, but um, if you've got one local, something to check. The best CNC router to get your feet wet is your good friend that already owns one. That's how I got started.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
like I mentioned earlier, right now for someone wanting to, you know, I hate for someone to overspend before they know, but I also know if you buy something too cheap, you're sometimes just fighting problems of a cheap tool. And so right now, it's that same Smart 4040 Pro. I think is kind of that sweet spot of it's comparatively, it's not terribly expensive. It's about $600 right now, and that comes with a starter spindle, everything you need to get going, um, and then you can upgrade that to these router based, your trim router based things on that same machine. Your biggest downfall there is you've got a roughly about 15 and a half inch square working area. So that's going to limit you a little bit. But that's my opinion right now. Unless you've got just crazy money, then buy a Onefinity. These are awesome machines, and you'll probably almost never outgrow it. But then you're talking $2,500 to $3,000 to get started with that, and a lot more space. So,
apparently Amazon's got it for $569 currently.
oh well, there you go.
The
A
440
little bit of a
Pro.
deal.
Yeah. Now it says that the work area is 400 by 400 by 78. I think that is if you put the DeWalt on there because I'm running mine right now. I did find that mine is at like 436 by 400 with the standard spindle on there. And I did that just by moving it over and measuring it until it hit the limit switches. But there's 436 between the limit switches currently with the standard spindle on there. X2 P2, woo, that's a hefty investment there. But they say that it's a pretty good machine. What do you think, Steve?
Um, I mean, it's a very smart machine. You're getting a what is it, a 55-watt CO2 machine that has a lot of things integrated to it. So, but you still, I mean, it's still a CNC laser. You still have to be monitoring your coolant. You still have to be checking your mirror alignment, all those things. But they do have some cool features. If you really want to use it to its fullest, you do have to use their XCS software. Right now, Lightburn says they're working on compatibility, but they have a lot of irons in the fire, and this is just one laser. So if you absolutely have to use Lightburn with it, I think you're buying a lot of machine you won't be able to use by sticking with Lightburn. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, again, it's not something I've had the opportunity to play with. I don't know. Some of the reviews I've seen are pretty good. Some of them go into details about some plausible concerns about, they're using the same wheels as they are on the D1s. And I don't know, I think at higher speeds and whatnot, that might cause me a little bit of concern over actual linear rail and such. But, it is a well packaged, put together machine that's got some nice features on top of it. So I think the longevity we'll see as time goes on and people use them more.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they hold up over time. I know I got a lot of friends, local people that do laser work around here. Two sisters, and there's three or four other folks that I know that all have glow forges, and they still have the same maintenance and stuff that a regular CO2 does. So, so I'm kind of curious where the X Tools P2. I'm kind of curious where the maintenance is going to fall on that. what happens if you're somebody that doesn't know how to do that maintenance and you have to have it. It's kind of, is it going to be user serviceable enough that somebody other than, somebody like yourself who's experienced with CO2s is going to be able to tackle that? So we'll see. Anyone heard? I haven't, Chris, but I wish they would hurry up because I already know how to work Lightburn. Bob says, "Call me." No, I don't. I have never seen one of those machines, Bob. Now I can work on just regular CO2s because I've actually had a couple of those over here to work on. But as far as the P2, it's a different animal the way they've got it put together. And I'm guessing by the size of it that there's a lot of stuff crammed into a small space.
Yeah, that's one thing that um, that one of the big things that's a concern with CO2s is at least this style of CO2 that they're running with. It's a liquid cooled tube. They do have their built-in reservoir and pump. Um, but I mean, I've got my big machine, and I've got a 60-watt tube. It's not much bigger than theirs, and my chiller is probably about a third of the size of that entire laser to maintain temperature on that. So I, the other thing is that you do have to, you know, it's a sealed system, but you still need to replace that water from time to time. So I'm not sure how they've worked out the drainage on that. I know a few people I think have siphoned theirs out and replaced it, but yeah, I think long-term serviceability would be my one concern. Now, the nice thing over Glowforge that they've got is that it's not cloud-based software. You can use it offline, and that was one of the big gripes with Glowforge. But I think with anything, they've got a big enough customer base. Even if Xtool doesn't approach some of it, there's going to be a good aftermarket uh, accessories that probably percolate up from that as well. So
Yeah. Well, I would, like I said, I'd love to see one, but it's really not in my budget. So, not right now. I got other things I need worse. Bigger shop. Well, did we click the same one?
perhaps.
I heard you click same time I did.
Ron, unfortunately, no. The diode wavelength isn't going to touch the brass, even though it's a very soft material. The one thing you could do is you can add a marking spray to it that will that should fuse to the surface of it, and that will wear out over time. But with this, you would really be looking at the IR or a fiber to engrave brass, and yeah, something that's sentimental. You want to make sure you're doing it right, so you don't mess up. Um, Depending on what you're wanting to do, you might want to look at maybe instead of engraving the actual shell casing, maybe you make some sort of placard and a display that goes with it, and you can engrave, maybe the back, pick your favorite wood, put a nice engraving on there, and maybe get a brass plate that you can test with, and do the actual engraving on that or the marking on that, or stainless steel or something like that. That's just something I tend to recommend people when they have kind of a sentimental item, is maybe not look at engraving that actual piece, but make something around it that, if it gets screwed up, it's okay. You just buy more material and replace it. So
Yeah, you could make like a little wall hanger and just have you some little brackets that you slide it in there and hold it in place. And you
yeah,
can order one of those black anodized aluminum tags. I've got some of those that you attach to the like a deer that you shot or whatever. You could get some of those little tags and put on there. It would be a cool project. Oh, which particular model? Two trees. I've got two trees. Either one of them, power and speed wise and adjustability, either one of them are good machines so far. Now, on a budget, this little guy that I got in the other day, this TTS 50 or TTS 20, which one is it? What's it called? Uh, for the price, that was hard to believe how well that thing performed. TTS 20 Pro. It's the blue one that I have. I was actually pleasantly surprised because when I opened the box, I was kind of underwhelmed by the look of it. But then when I got it running and got to using it, it's one of those situations where you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Because it done a really good job, but for the price, uh, it was just unreal because it came with honeycomb, air assist, everything. Let me see how much they got it on Amazon for. TTS 20 Pro. Yeah, Amazon's got it for $6.39 with a honeycomb, air assist pump, and the machine, which is hard to believe. So,
Well, Big Scooby, it sounds like you got a lot of the accessories with that P2. So hopefully, once you get it and have some chance to play with it, you let us know how it's working and what you're able to do with it. Because it does look like a cool machine. It does have some cool features. Having that feed through option, and then the real time adjustable Z that they kind of map out the surface. I'm not 100% sold on that because I probably haven't thought of the case use, but someone will come up with that case use, or I will come up with like, I wish I had that. And
yeah.
then that light bulb is going to go off. So yeah, I'd be excited to hear how that's working for you once you get it and you have a chance.
All right, guys, it's that time once again. If you haven't already, go over to Facebook and check out their laser engraving engraver community page. Uh, that's kind of our hangout for most of the guys from the lives. If you have pictures, you can take and upload those in that group. It's a little easier for us to interact because most of our stuff, like right now, we're streaming to Facebook and YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, guys, and you have a Facebook page, go over to mine and Steve's Facebook pages. And even if you don't ever go to it and look at anything, just go hit that follow button, give us a like or whatever. Because I don't know about Steve, but I'm trying to bring my Facebook page up to where YouTube is, and it's a crawl. It just takes a while. So uh, if you don't mind, go over and check that out. Let me send this text message. But yeah. And also, if you hadn't already, subscribe to myself or Steve. We're not ready to go yet, Chris. I'm just trying to promote the groups, man. Try to get some subs, some follows, likes. I'm gonna try to give y'all the 2 hours if I can stay awake. I'm kind of sleepy. This darn back problem I've got woke me up at like 5:30 this morning. Couldn't stay in the bed anymore because I was hurting too bad, and I'm not used to that, guys. I usually don't get up till about 7. But also, there is Steve's YouTube channel, which I turned our little name tags off, or it would be there, wouldn't it?
That's all
and
right.
uh, and mine is pretty much the same at the Clack Shack. So yeah, if you hadn't already, go check those out. Ooh, my chat just went away. Well,
You clicking too many things?
no, all I did was turned off of the captions and it just disappeared. But but yeah, but that's about it. As I said, I just want to give us a little shout for the pages. That should put us back up on the. Nope, wait a minute. Captions is still on. Let me hide that one. Where did my chat go?
There you go.
Where did the chat get off to? I'm not
It's
seeing it on my end.
you got to click on the right side for chat. Far
Well,
right.
yeah, I've got it selected. I've got chat overlay turned on, but it cleared
Okay.
mine. Mine
Oh,
disappeared during all that moving around.
yeah, you got to
But any
click edit.
questions or anything else, guys? Paint coated glass. 20 watt paint coating glass. Let me refer to my notes.
Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot with that recently, but my friend Mike actually was talking about doing some glasses, and he's wanting to chat with me about the idea of taking one of the spare machines and turning it into a fixed uh, rotary machine.
I
So
actually haven't done any painted glass that I've wrote down anywhere with a 20 watt, which is surprising. I bet I did. I just didn't write it down. It's gonna be my findings. Typically, is gonna be about the same as whatever a tumbler runs. It's gonna be very close to that. So you may want to get you a painted glass and do some testing. But it should be pretty close. And I will tell you this, and I learned this the hard way. When engraving glass, it does not hurt to pull your focus up about 2 millimeters, because if you get glass too hot and you're perfectly focused, it actually can cause it to shatter. I learned that one the hard way, guys. I actually had a wine glass explode. Not really explode; it just fell to pieces. So just make sure. Yeah, now Bob might can tell you, because Bob does a lot of portraits and pictures and stuff like that. Uh, Bob did a really cool thing on the CO2 the other day. He got way more skills on the CO2 than I do.
well, I think he's got a little bit nicer CO2 machine than you've got too.
Yeah, you gotta have to see
That
it really done.
the K40 is nice to get your feet wet, but it's one of those where I think you invite as many problems as you do
Yeah,
um, going that cheap as CO2. So
Brian, I don't have that. I don't have that planned. The ones that I do have, these were all from my days back on the team, and since I don't do that anymore, I quit getting tattoos. But but yeah, these are old, very old. Doing picture frames, yeah. The cheaper the glass, the better. Oh, picture frames. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. I bought some really nice picture frames. The glass does not engrave as well as the cheap picture frames from Dollar General. But rebel. Well, I don't know which came first there, Bob. I'm pretty much the same I've always been.
I don't know. We've seen your high school pictures.
Well, Vintauri tattoo. Oh, seriously? All right, y'all asked for it. That would just be awkward. Hey, I did make us a coin though. Hang on, where did it go? Oh, so I have this coin that I've made while I've been over here doing some testing, and so from now on, if there's ever a dispute between me and Steve, we have a coin that we can flip to see who's right. So, so if there's a question, we just flip the coin, and then whoever's on top, that's who's right or wrong. So
There we go.
there you go. It's got both. It's got both our logos on there. No, Brian. We the one under here. This was like the trip home from SWAT school. After being beat up on for over a week and being conscious and alert for 20 hours a day for like 7 days. One of the guys that I made it through SWAT school with decided it'd be a good idea for us to go straight to a tattoo parlor on our way home, and so we did. And then this one I got after we won the state competition. When we won it the first year, we got it done in black, and then the second year I went back and got it colored in. But we wound up winning the competition for the state like 3 years in a row. And so everybody on that original team got the very same tattoo that day. So that's the reason I got that one. But yeah, there you go. Little history for you. There's only a handful of guys that that got that one. Oh,
Brian, yes, I do have it. I actually had mine before Clack had his, but I've been tied up with a couple of other lasers that I needed to finish first. So I've been playing with it on the side while working on those, and so that's kind of now on my hit list this next week to really figure out what I want to do with that as far as some projects and doing some testing, and I'll get some stuff out on that as well. So, but it's the exact same one that he's got, and so we've been kind of comparing things back and forth a little bit, but I just haven't gotten anything out about mine yet.
have you got the rotary yet?
Yep,
I hadn't got
that
mine
was
yet.
that one. That one was a random DHL package that came. I don't know, a week plus after I got the other one, which is interesting because like I think you got the big random box from Amazon that showed up the one day with the laser in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that other one showed up, and then I had a random DHL box coming from China somewhere. So that's how.
Well, I got a Two Tree sent me like a nice little like blank pack the other day. I got to get that out and play around with some of those stuff. I may break out the TTS over here and do a little bit of engraving on that stuff. But yeah, I haven't got my rotary yet. I'm wanting to try it out though.
Yeah, my sister's excited about me trying that out too because she's a silversmith or goldsmith at a wedding jeweler. So I was talking with her about this stuff because the place she works for has actually been talking with her about getting into some engraving for the rings, and I was like, well, there's an easier way to do it. So
Yeah. Well, I actually had a jewelry store here in town reach out to me before I got it. And I told them, I was like, I can't right now, but I have a machine coming and I may be able to. So I made contact with them the other day, let them know the machine was here. And been practicing up just in case.
the fiber, so it has two different lenses. There's 110 and a 200 millimeter, so that's the square area of it. So roughly, 4 and 7 inches would be the working area with those respectively.
Yeah. It's not that big, but it's a very specialized machine, and for what we're using them for, I think it's adequate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a blast with it. I got sleepy, tired, whatever you want to call it. I can't quit yawning. Just drink some coffee or something, but then I'll be up all night.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that this late.
But now, Steve, typically, not you, Steve, the other Steve. Typically, what I'm going to be doing with it's going to be a little small stuff like this, which I got lucky and I actually hit the rainbow with these earlier, playing around. Now, we have determined that consistently getting those colors is tough. Now, you can stay within this range and you'll get a color, but it's kind of like luck of the draw which color you get. Because I've did a couple of them and got some color, but it's just kind of random what color you get. That is not the only color that came out what I wanted it to be is the little peach in the middle. That's supposed to be green leaf on top, and it turned out to be like a silver blue leaf on top. So consistency is not my strong suit with it so far, as far as the colors. But the color is a result of heat, and of course, the larger surface area, the more heat you're going to generate, and blah blah blah. So, me and Steve had a really in-depth conversation about how to try to figure out how to control the color. And so far, the only thing is do it till you get it right, and then use the same material over and over. All right, questions, concerns, comments, guys. It's an hour 44 minutes, and I got up way too early this morning. So we're not gonna be going into double overtime tonight or anything. Or this morning. Sorry, Chris. I forgot. Chris said he's over there on his second cup of coffee. I think I may have got a little too much sun today, Steve. What do you think?
Got bored. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack. Somebody asked me earlier about a MOPA. I had to do some research because I wasn't sure.
Well, and it's kind of the same thing. You're getting into these, especially with the 30-watt and up diodes. A lot of the manufacturers saying, "Oh, you can do color on stainless steel," but it's the same issue, almost compounded. That there's so many variables from material, thickness, area of engraving, atmospheric error at the time can slightly tweak that chemistry. So yeah, it's tough to get consistent with that, but it is doable. But I think it's more of a kind of a for me, I'm having fun trying to dial in and just see what it can do. But if I was trying to do a job where I needed to make multiples of something, or even one, I think I'd get quickly frustrated.
Yeah, well, if your goal was to just have assorted colors, I mean, I got that figured out. But you just don't never know which color it's going to land on. It's kind of like rolling the dice.
Hmm.
So, but it is cool though that you can do it. Whew, jeez. Well, the one me and Steve have are both 20 watts. Now, there's a rumor I might be getting a 30, but don't know yet. We'll see how that goes. Da-da-da. All right, it's getting quiet, guys. Y'all can put me to sleep.
Yeah, there's a
I'm about to stand up and move around over here like they'd make us do in class.
there's a rumor that I might be getting the IKEA 24/48 watt laser. Um, so that'll be another one of these second generation with all the addressable Z height, autofocus kind of stuff to play with. So
You always get all the cool toys.
hey, you might be getting a 30-watt laser.
You know why it is. You get all the cool toys, right?
Because what I pay him off.
That's right, Brian. He ain't got air conditioning up there yet. He's got his little fan, which is kind of a sorry excuse for a fan too, I might say.
Hey, it's there's no cords on this, and it's spinning away.
Oh me. Well, I've got to finish my insulation because during the heat of the day, it still gets up into the 80s in here, and I still sweat. That's why I got my handy dandy old man rag over here because I have to wipe the sweat off my forehead every now and then. But
Well, it actually it cooled off this week, and the humidity went way down. So I opened up the shop as much as I could, and it warmed up today. But even now, it's 73 degrees in here and 55% humidity, so it's tolerable.
73?
Yep.
It's 74 in here, and I got air conditioning. That's ridiculous. It's too cold up there. What's the temperature outside over there?
It was in the 80s today.
80s.
Like I said, it cooled down.
God. Which now it is actually 76 outside here tonight, which is surprising.
Well, right
It
now it's
was
76 up here too, so
it was 87 here today.
it's 84 here.
Yeah, you got me a little bit there. Which now you've got your shop well insulated. It's just not
Yeah.
air conditioned yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it is well insulated. As a matter of fact, it's the first year I had this, so we were actually parking cars in here. It was I didn't have enough airflow in here, so that snow would melt and the moisture would get in here. I was actually starting to have issues with that. So
Oh yeah. Oh wait, this winter, guys, he'll be back in the house. He'll be back in the house when it gets winter time. I know he will.
well, when it gets super cold, yeah, but if I can pull off the mini split, that should keep it warmer in here, down to moderate below freezing. But yeah, it hits single digits and below.
I was
That thing's
supposed to
not going to be
say,
doing much.
I don't know how efficient those mini splits are in negative 20-degree weather.
Yeah, no, I think yeah, they say they stop being effective somewhere in the single digits, give or take. Um, but this is well insulated. I have kept it above freezing with some auxiliary heaters. So, when we get there, I'll make sure things don't freeze. I'll come out here when I need to and turn them up. But yeah, that's when I kind of retreat inside for a bit.
Break out the snow shovel.
Yep.
Have a good one, Ron. Gonna hang in here as long as I can, or at least for another 10 minutes anyway. But 74 in Texas. You must be in North Texas, like far North Texas. Uh oh. Uh oh. Here we go.
Yeah, Brian. It's definitely going to be a heat pump as well. We'll see what they say tomorrow on cost. There are some rebates from the power company as well as some energy credit, tax credit stuff that's out there that'll help bring some of the pain off of it. But yeah, I'm definitely going with one that works as a to heat as well and hopefully be as efficient as possible in our colder temps. So
Mine says it does heat. I haven't tried it yet. It does a good job of cooling. I just have very poor insulation right now, and I got this big 16-foot roll up door in the front of my shop. So up until the sun gets above the porch, you walk past it and it feels like a griddle because the sun's hitting the back of it. I've got to figure out how to insulate it and come up with some way to seal around it when I'm not raising the door up and using it or anything. But
yeah.
work in progress.
Well, on mine, the doors are actually on the north side, so they pretty much never see sun, other than my entry door that I have. That's on the south side, but
Well, I didn't really have that choice when I built this. If I'd have put my door on the north side, it would have been right there at that 8-foot embankment that's beside my shop.
yeah,
So, and if I'd had it pointed the other way, you'd come out the front door and roll down the hill. So, okay. More efficient.
yeah,
Or
yeah. That's why I'm working with a company to they're gonna come and look at my space, look at what I got, make some recommendations, and they're one of the most reputable companies here in town anyway. So hopefully that means they give me good service and don't cost too much, but we'll see.
did you tell
But
them?
there are allegedly some that are just really set up for more cooling and not so much heating and such from just my cursory looking. But
Yeah. Well, the one that I got from Home Depot, and the ratings on it were well within what you would expect the temperatures to be here. So hopefully, hopefully it'll work out long term.
well, I
Bob
know
says that.
Daikin makes some. They're actually up here right in there. Actually, some of our students from our college end up working there. So we got some options around here, and we'll see what they suggest.
Cool. Well, I'll be glad for you to get it. I mean, because that would definitely help you out a lot. I know it was a big. I mean, if it weren't for the air conditioning out here, I would be doing these lives from inside the house in the summertime, and there wouldn't be near as much content being shipped out over here because I'd be soaking wet with sweat. The beautiful part about it is now is when I'm outside working, like today, my brother-in-law's in the hospital, so he has a pretty good sized yard, and so I went up there to go cut his grass. Well, it was clouded and overcast when I left to go up there, but about the time I got good and started on the yard, the sun came out, so that's why I got overexposed today. But
Well, the problem Problem with clouds is they give you a false sense of security. They're still getting quite a bit of those UV rays on your skin. So
Yeah, but good news is I tan really easy. So tomorrow's just this will just, which most of it has turned brown, but some of it's still a little red. But we'll see.
you look a
But
little bit like I did that first day in Georgia.
no, I mean it's it's not too bad. You can only see my handprint for what? Let me see, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, about 3 seconds. So I'm good. As long as your handprint doesn't stay more than about 3 seconds, you're good. Well, hello there, B Rad Austin River City RVA. That's a long name, by the way. Uh, yeah, Brian, it'd be kind of cool if I could go up the hill and down the hill and have a change in weather. We went on our
Well,
vacation. We went to Gatlinburg because it was cooler up there.
my dad's not quite up in Flagstaff, but he's up in the mountains in Arizona, about an hour north of Phoenix. So he's kind of halfway between Flagstaff and Phoenix. Yeah, it's a beautiful area, but yeah, Flagstaff they get a lot of snow sometimes still. So you might want to live outside Flagstaff.
Yeah, yeah. If you were going from Richmond, Virginia to Pensacola down I-65, you were definitely about 10 miles from me there. Uh, it's uh, it's not far at all. Do, do, do. Yeah, I used to, Bob. Last year, I run a sawmill all summer and gave myself a kidney stone. So that was one of the reasons I was able to get air conditioning this year is because I convinced my wife that it was a matter of my safety, and so she was good with me spending the money because I had to spend a pretty little penny to put that in here. But I think it's helped my productivity, especially with like my regular customers, where I make the stove covers and cutting boards and just staying out here, being able to do jobs for longer periods of time. I think, to be honest with you, easily this year the having an air conditioner will make up enough money to have paid for it, being purchased. Even with the added, strain on the power bill, because my power bill did go up about $2 a day. So yeah, yeah. I don't think she's going to buy that, guys. Oh, I do have an event coming up though. I need to get the date for that. Uh, I actually will have an event if anybody's around. I know Bob will probably show up. Bob Bob's fairly close to me, so he doesn't have to go very far. But I do have an event coming up, and as soon as I get some information, it's going to be in September. And myself, Cog Hill, Chestnut Hills, there's a bunch of the local channels around here that are going to be at this event. It's going to basically be just like a big meet and greet. And I'm trying to come up with some stuff to hand out at it. So we'll see how that works. We'll see how that works out. But 1 minute, 58 seconds, 1 hour, 58 minutes. Good night. I'm getting tired. Uh, so, guys, if you hadn't already, hit that like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. What is the best wood to do cutting boards? Well, it depends. Go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna- yeah, it depends. Oftentimes, it's whatever wood is readily available for you, but depends on if you're wanting it to be super functional or just decorative. If you want clean engraving or don't care, there's a lot of bamboo cutting boards that can be had for cheap out there, but you're going to have some variations in there, and some people might not like that. Up here in Minnesota, it's pretty easy to get oak, walnut, maple. Those are pretty typical up here. That there's a lot available. So if you like that multicolored, contrasting color, you don't mind assembling them yourself or paying someone else, you can get that. But probably missed it right now. But I know Michaels and Hobby Lobby were doing some sales, clearing out some of their summer stuff. They have that acacia wood that are out there. And that is kind of a nice happy medium between bamboo and your more expensive hardwoods that you can usually find at like hobby stores, craft stores for not a whole lot if you want kind of a pre-made thing. Just watch for those sales either at Hobby Lobby or Michael's, or look online, and you can usually get them relatively inexpensive, but I would still price it off the regular price just in case you get an order and you can't get them on sale like that. But that's my thought on it.
Yeah. Well, and that would be my thing. If you're planning on actually using it for a cutting board, you kind of want to lean more towards the bamboo or the hardwoods. The like Steve said, the acacia, you can get that at like Hobby Lobby and a lot of your little like decor stores. Me personally, I usually, if I'm just doing like true cutting boards, I have a sawmill and I have, oak, I have black walnut, I have hickory, all those different types of woods. Typically, I'll just cut up a log, put it in the kiln, dry it, and then I bring pieces of it in here and make cutting boards out of it because that gives me more of a rustic look. So it just depends. It just depends on what you're going for. You can actually get select oak and stuff like that at some of your big box stores, but it's they like the stuff. If you buy oak other than from somebody that has a sawmill, it's going to be really, really expensive. I know Steve found somebody up there near him that's got a sawmill, it's got some leftovers, and he gets to go pick through it. That's that wonderful stack of lumber you see behind him up there. So that's probably one good place to look, is if you can find sawmills in your area that have leftovers that you could play around with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to connect with him and do a video one of these days on working with sawmills or finding them and what to do and such, because it's a wonderful resource to be able to grab wood like this and be able to just have it for the CNC machine or general woodworking projects, or cutting it down and use it on the laser. So.
Well, I see somebody saying that they bought bamboo cutting boards at the Dollar Tree. Now, I can't vouch for the Dollar Tree cutting boards, but these are my Amazon ones that I get. These are bamboo, and these things come in a box of, I think they come in 12 to a box. I usually order them 24 or 48 at a time because I go through them. And this is not me selectively going through there and picking them out. This is just, I open a box and I go through and I engrave them, and then I take them in the house and wash them with soap and water. And you can see now, some of them are lighter than others. That's bamboo for you. It's going to do that. So if that's something that you don't like, you're not going to like bamboo. But they all turned out really well. I do usually about 4 or 5 of these a week for a customer. And I think altogether I've done probably close to 100 of them. I do these with the Atom Stack A30, the Acer. I've done them with the X Tool. I've done them with the Two Trees. I've done them with almost every machine I've got, and the results is about the same. If you go to my Amazon shop, there should be a link to them in there. And I've stuck with this same brand. I just reordered 3 more boxes of them. These bamboo ones, I don't do nothing. Soap and water. Soap and water is all it takes. Bamboo is technically not really a wood; it's a grass. You can put the butcher block treatment on there, and I've got 2 or 3 different kinds. I've got one that has beeswax in it that kind of waxes them as you put it on there. Mineral oil by itself works for a lot of your like maple and hickory and stuff like that. Some of the more porous woods, the beeswax works pretty good because it gets down in the pores and kind of seals it up, keeps stuff from growing inside there. If it's going to be an actual used cutting board, if it's decorative, then just spray some polyacrylic on it and stamp the back of it. Not food safe. Stamp the back of it and let it rock. But if you're going to actually be eating off of it, you need to treat it with something that's not going to have any kind of negative effects.
Yeah,
I get 30. I get 35 a piece for these. Now at events, typically 25 to 30 because they're not as easy to get 35. But I have a customer that was what they bid, was $35 a piece. So that's what I get for those. And I know, guys, that's really good. But I make a lot of stuff for this company, and they kind of got me on a couple of my other designs.
Yeah, I was gonna say I use the especially when you mentioned if it's going to be a functional cutting board. Total Boat has their it's like a oil and they call it wood honey. So it's a wax and oil combination. It even comes in one of those little bear bottles like you get honey in.
Yeah.
So, but that I find that applies pretty well. It's, like you say, it's got a little bit of wax to help, but it doesn't like build up into the engraving areas. That's one thing that you got to be careful of is some of the hard wax finishes and such. If you're on something that's engraved, it'll get stuck in that engraving and it'll just gunk up. That's where you want to just use either a spray on finish or like dunk it in oil kind of thing. Something that's going to soak in and not leave a buildup on it.
Yeah, like I said, these guys right here, I just take them in the house, regular dish soap and water, and wash them real good to get all of the little particles off of them. Because parts of this bamboo will turn white when you engrave it for some reason, but once you wash it with soap and water, the white goes away, and you get this nice little brown finish. It usually goes from this tan right here to the darker brown like that. But now I have played with my speeds, my LPI, and everything to get this specific look because that's what I wanted them to look like. But anyway, that's it, guys. I appreciate y'all coming. Enjoyed it. If you're late getting here, you can go back and watch the rest of it in case Steve said something amazing and you missed it. Uh, but Brian, guy, I told Klein that he had to at least be in a video so that you could say you had seen Klein. So Brian, I hope that was good for you. I hope you enjoyed that. And he's even saying that he might come back and participate in another video. But he is at home right now enjoying his new enclosure and his extended laser. I guess he's not even watching us tonight. He's probably in there burning something as we speak. But anyway, y'all have a good one. And Steve, I'll leave it to you there.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for stopping by this weekend, and we'll definitely have some more things to talk about next week. So bring your questions and be ready for that. But in the meantime, definitely go check out both channels, check out our Facebook pages. Um, we appreciate everybody going there, leaving comments, watching the videos, interacting. That all just kind of helps us continue to do what we're doing. I know it's pretty much a hobby for both of us, but we always appreciate when it kind of self funds and self promotes itself, so we can kind of continue to see the value in it, because it is a bit of a second job, but it's a job we do as kind of a fun. So hope you all have a good night and a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Y'all be safe.